Before we begin the meeting, it's in accordance with board policy, I need to announce that we do have someone that will be speaking during the public comment section. Mr. Clayton Francis will be speaking to a non-agenda item and will be given 3 minutes to speak to this item. Next item is call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Majors? Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item will be the statement made by Mr. Jerry Denton.
All right. As we begin this meeting, let us pause for a 60-second moment of silence to reflect, meditate, pray, or engage in other silent activity. Thank you.
Next item will be the Pledge of Allegiance, led by our board clerk, Ms. Brandy Roulette.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item will be discussion to approve or disapprove the September 14th board meeting minutes. Any discussion?
Make a motion to approve?
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Thank you. Next item, number 5, Ms. Barber.
Well, good evening, President Allen, Dr. Vinson, and board. It is my great honor this evening to be able to present to you all and celebrate our 6 National Merit semifinalists that we have at Broken Arrow High School this year. So we have celebrated these students several times over the last several weeks, and we don't celebrate them to annoy them, although I'm sure it's becoming a little overwhelming, the amount of things they've been having to go to, but we celebrate them because this is a pretty amazing accomplishment, okay? So these students are among approximately 16,000 students from across the nation who have qualified for this honor and are some of the highest scoring students in the state of Oklahoma. So what we're going to do this evening is call them one by one and come up here. And so the first one is Simon Blair, Noah Higgins, William Martin, Kurt Nguyen. You guys will scoot a little bit over.
We're going to ask him to speak here in a minute.
Oh, okay. Awesome. And then the last one, Brady Reed. And we have one more after this. And Nicholas York. So the last thing I want to say this evening is this is a really incredible group of kids. They are diverse in the sense that we have student athletes up here. We have kids of all different backgrounds and students who participate in all sorts of activities. So we are just so overjoyed to be able to celebrate our 6 National Merit semifinalists this evening. And I think at this time I will turn it over to Dr. Vinson.
Okay. Actually, did you
Well, if you would, please introduce yourself. If you have any guests with you, maybe what your future plans are. Just tell us a little bit about you. Your favorite teacher, board member.
Hello, everyone. My name is Simon Blair. I am 18. My future plans are to go to either MIT or Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology and be either a mechanical engineer or an aerospace engineer. My favorite teacher would probably have to be Miss Lepp. And my favorite board member, easily, Mr. Bowser.
That's close enough. We'll let them-
Definitely Mr. Bowser. That's a pretty easy pick for me. But I just want to say thank you to all of you for giving me the opportunities at Broken Arrow to become a National Merit semifinalist, and also opportunities on the basketball court. As she said, I'm a student athlete and I play for the basketball team.
See, Simon is a little bit taller than me, so I have to adjust this microphone to the appropriate height. Hello, my name is Kurt Wynn, and I am one of the National Merits this year. I was told to tell a little bit about myself, and so I like to dilute my entire my entire 17 years of life down to I love sleep, and I would like to give sleep all of the credit for all of my success. I am completely and utterly serious about this, as I get 8 hours of sleep every single night. I am quite proud of this. That's the entire 17 years of my life boiled down.
I'm Noah Higgins. I'm 16. I'm a senior. Play football at Broken Arrow. Totally blanking on what we were saying.
Any future plans?
I plan to attend TU for sports medicine.
Do you have any guests with you this evening or anything?
Like my mom down here.
Oh, yay, Mom.
All right, hello, my name is Will Martin, and I was a student athlete. I now am in fine arts. I've been doing that for lots of years, so I'm our fine arts kid up here. And I have my mom with me tonight over in that corner. Incredibly supportive and amazing mom. And future plans, I'd like to go to OSU, MIT, a couple other schools I'm looking at, but possibly for architectural engineering or materials engineering. So having lots of fun there. And my favorite board member is whoever gets more of us up here next year. So.
Oh, nice.
Hi there, my name is Brady Reed. I cannot second what Kurt said. I do not get that much sleep. I wish I did. But I am also a student athlete. I run cross country and track for Broken Arrow, varsity for both of those. And so that keeps me busy most of the time if I'm not doing homework or classwork. I'm at practice. So it keeps me on a pretty busy schedule. As far as future plans, I plan to either go to Georgetown, Baylor, or Oklahoma, and the University of Oklahoma, and major in religious studies and law at the same time. And I'd like to open a ministry that works in prison systems, and I'm able to minister to them by defending them legally and also sharing the gospel with them. So that's my big future plans. I have my dad over here in the corner. He's definitely somebody who's been a huge influence on my life and allowed me to be up here even, definitely given me the gifts and guided me through the process that has led to me being up here. I can't say I have a future board member or a favorite board member. I probably couldn't have named any of you unless I saw them. So,
Loves honesty.
thank you.
I'm Nick. I don't really do anything. I want to go to TU and be a chemist. My inspirations are my awesome mom, who made all the sandwiches and also did everything, like everything. My dad, who's an inspiration and gives me like moral guidance all the time. My sister, who annoys me, and my teachers, Mrs. McClarty, 6th grade science teacher, Mr. Stevens, I don't know if he even still exists, and Dr. Stobie, my high school chemistry teacher. My future plans are successful YouTuber. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's called IRDM. It's very funny. Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you so much. What does strike me as I hear each of you talk is the support systems that you have out here. None of you got here in isolation. It's the support of your family, of your teachers, of all of these people that you've met along the way who've made you who you are. And because of that, you've got the whole world is at your fingertips now. The opportunities that you have now because of this honor, huge. And we are so very proud of you. Next year, I want to see a lot of young ladies up here. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce Representative Stan May, Ross Ford, and Dean Davis. They would like to come up here and issue you some citations. No, not those kind of citations. These are actually congratulations from our State House of Representatives. They're going to come up here and issue these, and we're going to take some photos, okay? So join us up here.
Could I read one of them?
Absolutely. That's a great idea.
The citation will read, citation, National Merit semifinalist, and it says Simon Blair. Whereas Simon Blair has been honored by being named a 2020 National Merit Scholar semifinalist, and whereas Simon Blair has maintained an excellent GPA while enrolled in Broken Arrow High School in Tulsa. It should say Broken Arrow, but it says Tulsa. I'll have to redo these. Oklahoma, and whereas Simon Blair has scored well above 1.5 million other students who took the ACT standardized test utilized by college for admission, and whereas Simon Blair has demonstrated a strong academic background and extraordinary knowledge of all subjects taught throughout their education, and whereas the Oklahoma House of Representatives, on behalf of the state of Oklahoma, take great pride in recognizing the outstanding knowledge and this great achievement of Simon Blair. Now therefore, pursuant to this motion of Representative Ross Ford, Representative Stan May, Representative Dean Davis, and Representative T.J. Marty, the Oklahoma House of Representatives extends Simon Blair sincere congratulations and directs this citation to be presented.
Congratulations, all 6 of you, and to the parents, congratulations to you as well. It was obvious by the statements by each of the individuals that you guys are a very important piece to that puzzle, and we appreciate your support, and best of luck. Next item, number 6. Ms. Thornton?
Ms. Brown is taking.
Oh, Ms. Brown. Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm taking Dayling's spot today. Dr. Vinson, President Allen, and school board members, I have the absolute privilege and honor to recognize an outstanding young man tonight. Very excited about. Jacob Grigsby, would you mind coming up front for me, please? He is with Troop 995, and he is currently serving as a senior patrol leader. He has worked on an Eagle Scout project, and part of his project is to present it. So I'm not going to steal his thunder. I'm going to let him present it. Okay. Would you like to talk right here?
Members of the board meeting, I would like to present to you. Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank the board for giving me a few minutes of their time tonight. My name is Jacob Grigsby, and I am a senior at Broken Arrow High School. I am a member of the Special Olympics team competing in bocce and powerlifting. I am also a Boy Scout. Make sure. And one of the requirements to reach the rank of Eagle Scout is to develop and complete a service project which benefits the community. Special Olympics and Scouting have helped me in dealing with my autism, and I thought I would like for my project to benefit the Broken Arrow Special Olympics. I planned a bowling tournament to raise the funds needed to buy uniforms for the team. The tournament was originally planned to happen on May 2nd of this year, but, well, a pandemic happened and it threw a wrench into the plans. Seriously, screw you, COVID. With help from the great people at Broken Arrow Lanes, we were able to reschedule the tournament for August 1st. The turnout was lower than we hoped for, but considering the situation, it was still a success. The event raised $2,175. This helped me purchase 90 numbered uniform shirts for the unified teams competing in volleyball, soccer, and flag football. This evening, I would like to present the Broken Arrow Special Olympics with their new uniforms and a check for the remaining funds totaling $950. This was a great experience. Even with all of the problems that we encountered, I've learned that anything is possible with just a little patience and hard work. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, so Jacob, if you'll come out here in the front, he wants to present, show you the uniforms. Not only did he purchase them, he designed them, which I think is
cool.
amazing. So
Very cool.
he purchased 90 uniforms that we can use with the teams that he mentioned. We were required to have numbers on the back of our uniforms, and we didn't have numbers. So he did that. He was going to present it to our Special Olympics coaches, Christina Gould and Jamie Scott. The remaining of the funds that he has left will be used to purchase entry fees for our future athletes. So that project will just keep right on giving for a while. And then the uniforms will be for forever. So, yes, please do.
Oh, you need to be in the picture.
Jacob, Mom and Dad, would you come up and get your picture taken too? If anybody knows what it's like to go through an Eagle Scout project, it takes the whole family.
Amen.
To be successful with that. And then I'd like the troop to come up, because as a part of the troop, as part of helping do the fundraising and all of that. So Troop 995, if you'll come up and get recognized as well, because it does take the whole family and the whole troop to be successful.
If anybody around here is his second mom, you are.
All right, here we go. On three. 1, 2, 3. Again on three. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you. That's theirs. Done.
I just scratched you, sorry.
Dr. Vincent, did they say he was a senior?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Jacob, are you going to be participating this year in the powerlifting? You going to bring those gold medals back so we can look at them?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Job well done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm going to have to pull this mask down briefly so my glasses don't fog up. So Miss James and I have the honor tonight of presenting 7 of our principals who have endeavored throughout this last year to have their schools distinguished as Champions of Excellence schools. So you may be wondering, well, what is a Champions of Excellence school? Our State Department in the school year 18-19 began developing rubrics in the areas of English language arts, computer science, social studies, math, science, and world languages. And through those rubrics, sites can work toward becoming a bronze school, a silver school, or a gold school. Well, the part of that process is these administrators, along with teams from their site, because it takes the entire team at their site to do, they provide artifacts showing how they have met all the requirements of the different parts of the rubric to a team. And so our instructional team has reviewed all of their artifacts, and I'm so excited to be able to tell you that 4 of our elementaries will be going for silver status, and 2 of our elementaries will go for bronze. And the whole concept behind Champions of Excellence is to identify excellence, celebrate dedication, and share wisdom. And so I truly believe what these sites have submitted, we're setting the stage. We were part of the pilot, so it started in 1819. 1920 there were schools that piloted, Broken Arrow piloted, and I believe there were only 2 districts across the entire state that actually piloted this. So next year, when you look at our on our accountability dashboard, these sites will be recognized as having those medals. And so it's going to be an honor because we are actually paving the way for the state. So I'm going to recognize the elementaries, and Ms. James will recognize secondary. And so Ms. Bridget Powell is here to represent Aspen Creek. Will you come on up? And they will be going for silver status. Liberty, we have Miss Gable and Miss Orr tonight. They are going for silver status. Timber Ridge is not here. They actually were able to meet silver status. And next we're going to be looking, I believe they've already met gold in the area of fine arts. And the sites I'm mentioning so far are all English language arts. Oakcrest, Miss Williams is here. They are going to be going for silver. Leisure Park, Miss Dotson is here. They will be meeting silver status. And Highland Park, Miss Beth Schmidt will be meeting bronze status.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm excited to present and discuss our middle school. I would like to quote our Eagle Scout, Jacob Grigsby, that COVID got us. So we had several sides apply. We'll go with what he said on that. But and so it was a struggle, but Miss Kristen Graves persevered through this, her and her team. In our book, she's gold, but she earned a bronze in ELA and in math for us at the middle school level. So come on down here, Miss Kristen Graves.
And we would be remiss if we didn't recognize all of the teacher teams that all of these ladies empowered to do all of the work. And so, anyway, we're really excited and honored tonight that all of the work that they've done.
Just to clarify, you said that this would be on the accountability dashboard. Where's that dashboard located?
That's a good question. It's on the state board. It's on the state website. It's on the state website. Yes, I do know.
Sorry.
So
this is located. It's the State Department of Education has released this dashboard. And their whole concept of doing this is so that when parents are shopping for school districts, if they've got a kid who's really talented in, say, English language arts, and they're looking for a school district, they can go, "Wow, look at this. Broken Arrow has this elementary that's really talented in English language arts or fine arts or whatever they're looking for." So that's how they identify those schools. So, nice job.
Thank you. Oh, don't go far.
Yeah. Yeah, Ms. Roulette did inform me that this is an action item, so.
Oh.
Any discussion? Questions? Yeah. Okay.
Which one is?
That's okay. That's, I do have a question. Do you just pick what sites apply for those, or how does that?
They actually did the work and they applied. If we would have been picking, we probably would have picked every site.
No, I mean, but do you pick the sites and go, hey, go apply for these, or does every site just do it on their own?
They all have the
We encourage them all to do it, though.
Okay.
It's a job, we will say that,
Sure.
filling out the paperwork, proving that they do it it's an undertaking.
Nice. Cool. All right. Make a motion to approve?
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes, thank you. Next item will be comments from the public with Mr. Clayton Francis. Ms. Hill, will you set 3 minutes?
Yes.
And Mr. Francis, she's just gonna say 1 minute, and then
Yeah.
you can just
No problem. Won't take that
pace
long.
yourself as accordingly.
Got it.
Thank you.
Dr. Vincent, President Allen, and board members, appreciate your time tonight and opportunity to come and speak to you for a second. Overall, I wanted to thank you for your wisdom and the fortitude demonstrated by returning to classroom full-time. I want to encourage you to stay this course and want to provide some anecdotal feedback on how this is helping some of your constituents. I don't have anything to add regarding the health or well-being of the students. This is heavily weighed by you already for the decision coming up to now, but I would like to highlight maybe some of the tertiary impacts that may not be so evident. As a manager for an engineering and manufacturing business here in town, I wanted to highlight the impact I'm seeing on my employees and coworkers. There have been some tearful conversations in my office regarding neighboring school districts who continue forced virtual learning. Almost no family is prepared to have a full-time educator at home and be a full-time employee. For people who must still work, they can either succeed with facilitating their kids' education, or they can succeed at work, but generally not both. They're torn and conflicted, and they're bearing a huge burden of impending failure, whether it's real or simply feared. As a manager, I want my employees to take care of their families, and the education and enrichment of their students is really of paramount importance to that task. So now, employers, we're subjected to those employers subjected to virtual learning are fighting COVID on the business and the financial front, as well as employees who are justifiably distracted, heavily burdened, and less effective than before. But being in Broken Arrow means most of my employees and colleagues are healthy, they're focused and productive. And as a business, we're actually outperforming our local and national competitors. Meaning our employment is more secure than others. The company I work for is globally focused, with the majority of our equipment actually shipping overseas. The effectiveness of our business and this work is greater than that of our international competitors, bringing home more business, more job security, and ultimately more revenue to the district. Teachers, just saying thank you is inadequate, but thank you for everything you're doing, especially for your willingness to return to the classroom. I was appalled at the report of the survey from TPS where more than 60% of teachers desired to continue virtual learning over in class. My heart dropped for those kids and the kids of some of my employees. But I was also instantly overwhelmed with pride at the BAPS teachers. To a person that I've encountered, they've shown joy, enthusiasm, and really a missional state of mind for returning to the classroom. Again, there's way more weighty reasons why returning to the classroom has been healthy and necessary for students and the community. However, the business and financial impacts to the family are not inconsequential.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, the Virtual Academy update, Mr. Starr.
Good evening, President Allen, Dr. Vincent, board members. I'm excited to get to show you guys a little bit of an update today. We want to talk to you a little bit about enrollment numbers, where we were, where we are. Also talk to you a little bit about the software programs we're using. Then also give you a little information about the two things that we work on the most, which is support for students and then also communication with families and parents. So we ready to roll there? So we'll start with our enrollment numbers, and you can see them there. 4,301 was the number when I pulled those last week. Those numbers continue to be fluid. I meet every day, either virtually or in person, with parents that have found out loved ones are now autoimmune compromised, or they found out someone in their family has contracted COVID, and all of a sudden they have the need to stay home. And on the flip side of that, we do have families as well that want to go back to the traditional classroom. So those numbers continue to be fluid, and we continue to work with each and every family to provide as customized an option as we can to make sure they get the education they feel their kid needs in the setting that they need it. So we did start the year around 5,200. We know the vast majority of those went back to Broken Arrow Public Schools classrooms. We're unable to locate the exact number that went maybe to charter schools. We could tell you the exact number that went from Broken Arrow Public Schools, but I was unable to determine whether those were specifically from virtual academies or if they started the year in charter schools because of their fear of the pandemic. Wanted to talk to you a little bit about our instructional delivery. A few weeks ago, we had heard several times from preschool parents that the program we were using for preschool kids was just not working for them. And our instructional team, led by Dr. Diaz, made the decision to move to Waterford, and we've heard great reviews from pre-K parents at this time. And as we continue to look at what's best for students, I'm pleased to work for a team that can see that there's a need or see that there's a need for change and be bold in making that move based simply on what's best for kids. And so we continue to do that, and we continue to meet weekly and look at our options and make sure that we're providing the best options possible. And I'm really proud that we made the move to Waterford, and I think the comments from our parents have backed up that that was the right decision. We use Edmentum for our K through 8 students unless those middle school students are taking credit or high school credit classes. If they are, then they're in the Edgenuity program, which I'll discuss in just a minute. One of the 3 things that we continue to work on most, I mentioned support and communication. The third is the software program. Edmentum is new to this type of learning. So we've seen a couple of issues there. One, they experienced a 5,000% increase in student enrollment nationwide last year. So their ability to solve problems and be customer service ready has taken a little bit of a hit. And so we work with them. Our team is very diligent. When we get off the phone, even if we have no further issues with them, we go ahead and set a meeting for the next week because we know there's the possibility that Broken Arrow students could encounter some more issues, and we want to be ahead of that curve. Additionally, I've met with my counterparts at Jinx and Union and in other school districts as well, and they have experienced the same thing with the same company, and we continue to work together both to support them because we do feel like this is the option that was best for kids when we made this decision, and we continue to feel like it is at this time. As I've already told you, we made the move to Waterford because we knew that was the best decision. So despite some of the hiccups we have with the software working, we do know that this is still the best program at this time. One of the complaints we hear often from especially our lower grade level parents is that this is really hard for my kids, and why don't you use learning.com or ABC Mouse? And so sometimes we have to stop and talk to each one of those parents and explain to them ABC Mouse is really great as a supplement or as a remedial tool, but it does not meet standards that will prepare your student for the next grade level. And so I think for some of our parents it's been a little eye-opening to realize how hard it is to learn. It's been a long time since some of them were in kindergarten or first or second grade. And in a normal school year, they don't sit by their kid while their kid is encouraged by a passionate teacher over and over again that you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. And so I think it's been eye-opening for them to understand learning can be difficult, but these programs have to be decided on, and we have to pick the best one for students. And so it's easy for parents to go, well, this could be better. And we understand and we take that feedback and we try to do our part to get better. We provide the software provider with information as well so that they can get better as well. But we do know that this is the program that's given our kids the best opportunity to learn virtually at this time. The final program we use is Edgenuity, which has been around for years. We're pleased that we've been able to add AP courses to that this year. We've also been able to make sure that these courses are NCAA approved this year, which really has some long-term ramifications in a positive way for our virtual school program. We have a lot of students that participate in a lot of different activities, not just the traditional sports that you think of when you think of collegiate athletics, but some of them travel with some of these sports as well. And so this gives them the opportunity to earn credits that will apply for their NCAA collegiate applications and still allow them the flexibility to pursue other passions as well. And we know that student athletes are more likely to graduate because of that passion they have for athletics. So that's our instructional delivery mode. The other two things I want to talk about tonight, one is the support that we provide for parents and families, and then the other, again, I've already mentioned, is communication. We do our very best to respond to students within 24 hours. At the beginning of the year, I was getting anywhere between 500 and 600 emails a day, and trying to respond to each and every one of those within 24 hours was difficult, to say the least, time-consuming, to say the least. We have been provided from the instructional team. They heard my feedback and gave us additional support in the area of assistant principals that can help field those phone calls. Additionally, I'm traditionally a secondary guy. I've spent all of my career in 6th through 12th grade education, so having some administrative help from the elementary ranks has helped me learn more about the elementary ranks, but it's also given more support to those students at that level. So we're glad that we're able to do that. During the day, we try to explain what a roster teacher does to our families by saying it's a lot like an academic pediatrician. The software program does do the delivery of the instruction. However, when your child is sick, no one hesitates to call their pediatrician. No one hesitates to say, I need help right now for my kid. And so we want them to know that that's what your roster teacher is like. If you say, I need help, we provide you help. We do make sure that our roster teachers touch base with every single family at least once a week. So we do reach out and make sure they are doing all right. But if they do have extra concerns, or they do have extra needs, we make sure that we're there for them. We provide tutoring sessions as well as one-on-one Zoom meetings or in-person meetings. We utilize the Virtual Academy facility for both tutoring in one-on-one settings and small group settings. Of course, we let parents know when those are and allow them to select that if they would like. Of course, we know a lot of our students right now, their parents are concerned about the pandemic, and so if they want to meet via Zoom or Microsoft Teams, we certainly respect that and follow those wishes as well. One of the other things I wanted to show you is our teacher Google Sites. And members of the board, I provided you a little colored copy there, so if you don't want to turn around and strain. But teachers all have this site, and this is one of our elementary teachers, Miss Anaya. This is her welcome to our classroom. We provided this because we know that when a parent gets frustrated, they want results, they want answers, they want to tell someone right now. And so sometimes, even though we can email them back within 24 hours, we want to provide them with other supports that they can get immediately. So this Google site that we had every teacher build at the beginning of the school year helps with that, and helps the parent who is acting as a teacher, provides them with opportunities to assist their kid at home. So I will admit that our elementary ones are a lot prettier than our secondary ones. I think that probably says a little bit about teachers in general. But one of the things I want you to notice is that the students themselves can get on this portal, find their grade, and find ways to contact their teacher or find different websites in order to help them with the work that they're doing. So this is just one of the supports we use. In addition, while she's getting that ready, that's why I always bring a paper copy with me. We also have a Virtual Academy newsletter, and there's kind of a front page of that on your handout. Yeah, go ahead. We send this out every week. I usually send it out on Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening, and that's for selfish reasons. I know that I'm going to get at least 50 responses to this via email, so at least they don't hit my inbox till Monday morning instead of all weekend long, my inbox dinging. But the last one that I sent out was Saturday. The one the week before had over 7,000 views. So that lets us know that that is one of the primary modes of communication that is actually reaching the parents. And we put everything we possibly think a parent can need in this newsletter. It's called the BAVA Weekly Update. If you don't mind scrolling down there just a little bit, there's information. This one was when Waterford came out, so there's 3 Zoom meetings listed right there for parents to attend and find out more about Waterford. If we go further down in this particular one, parents were worried about, hey, is that computer program going to keep rolling through fall break? So we found it important just to say, hey, take a break. You know, officially, the principal says you don't have to do any work even though you're virtual over fall break. We also started something else in the way of support that I had planned on mentioning later, but since it's right there, I'll mention evening tutoring from 4 to 7 is available Tuesdays and Thursdays throughout the remainder of the school year for people who need support and can't get to their roster teacher during the day. When I met with the instructional team about this, they said start if they need Mondays, if they need Wednesdays, if they need 3 to 8, if they need more teachers there, you let us know. We'll make sure that we have as much tutoring available. So again, our instructional team is making every effort to make sure that we have every opportunity covered for all of these people to get the support that they need. We utilize a Sign-Up Genius, and I won't make you go through that. But the Sign-Up Genius allows us to know who's coming, and we have hour-long slots from 4 to 7, and we want to know who's coming so that we can be responsible. These families have chosen, again, virtual because they have a fear of the pandemic, and we want to be responsible when they arrive and when they leave. And so even though you guys have a great plan for cleaning, we've gone over that again with our teachers, and we sanitize after each student leaves those specific areas so that we can make sure that each family feels comfortable if they want the in-person learning as well. The other thing I wanted to show you tonight is a couple of things on our website. Every time I post a newsletter, I send it to our webmaster, and our webmaster also posts that on our website. So if they don't get an email from me, they also can always go to the website and do that as well. Additionally, we started something. We met with the Broken Arrow PTA Council, and they had some, hey, we need more communication, we need more help. And so one of the things we recently started on the left-hand side, about right down there, is something called Parent University. And Parent University was a response to all the frustrations we had from parents that didn't feel like they knew how to manipulate the computer program. And so what happens is when we hear a concern more than 2 or 3 times, we have a teacher that has figured out a workaround or how it's supposed to work, do what we call a Loom video. And Loom's a website where they can do what's called a screencast. Basically, it's the teacher talking while you're seeing how they manipulate the program on the screen. So yeah, go ahead, you can click on that and see already that we've found several of those already and have already updated those. So when parents have specific concerns, we don't mind walking them through that every single time. We do that all day, every day. It's part of our job. But we also want those available because those frustrations don't just happen between 8 and 3. Those frustrations oftentimes happen after hours when, like the gentleman said, a person has worked all day and then they've gone home and they decide to be a teacher for the next few hours and they've already had a long day and they just can't figure out why they can't get this book to open. Well, it's probably because you didn't turn off the pop-up blocker, which is not something you think to do, but once you turn that off, everything works like magic. And so we, again, try to provide all these different areas of support in order to just make it as easy as possible for our parents. It's a hard job no matter what. Anybody that's taught, whether at home with your own kids, which I would say is harder for me to teach my own kids, or in a classroom, knows that teaching's a lot more difficult than people make it out to be. The last thing I think that we have on there are some survey results. Again, I mentioned that we had over 7,000 people view this just through the newsletter, right? So that doesn't even count the number of people that viewed this survey on the website. What we did see is that there's only 139 respondents to this survey. So it's hard to get a good gauge on exactly what those survey results tell us. What we wanted to gain from this survey is a measurement of our ability to communicate, how best to communicate with you as a parent, and then are you aware of all of these supports that I just mentioned? And so I won't spend time going over all the results. I have them all there for you. I wanted to mention 2 or 3, and this morning I was going over these with my team, and they pointed out an error that I'd made in the survey, so I'm going to make sure I point that out to you as well, because it definitely skews the way the data looks. But I have 3 survey results up there. The first one I wanted to highlight, I am aware that tutoring is available for my students. Over 95% of the people that actually responded said, yeah, I'm aware that that is available. The second one I wanted to highlight says, on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best, my roster teacher is available to meet my needs. I believe, if I did my math right, about 84% scored a 4 or a 5 on that. And so while we do understand that we get complaints, when you have 5,000 students or 4,000 students, just percentage-wise, if 5% of the population complains, when you go from 200 students to 4,000, you're going to get more complaints. And we understand that everybody is on high alert during this pandemic. And so those concerns, I guess the best way to say it, come a little louder and a little stronger my way. And that's okay. I appreciate passionate parents. I'm a passionate parent, and I'd rather have a passionate parent than have to hunt one down for a kid. And so we deal with every single one of those complaints and take all of that information and go back and do things like the parent university. But I think overwhelmingly, we are hearing the squeaky wheel gets the grease theory here, right? And so when we do see on Facebook, when we do see all of these negatives, I think they have to be tempered with the fact that we gave everyone the opportunity to tell us exactly what we need to do or how we need to do it to get better. And overwhelmingly, when calm and reasonable when reading through a newsletter, either they chose not to respond or they responded more positively. Now, the third one is the one that I want to admit my mistake on there. 100% of people say, I know how to schedule tutoring for my student. Well, I felt really great about that until I realized I didn't give them an option to say no to that. But I did take a few statistics classes, so I can draw something from that. And here's what I drew from that. There's 138 respondents on every single answer except that one. There's only 87 for that one, which that means about 60% of the people answered it, which probably means 30 to 40% thought the answer is no, but I don't have the option to say no. So that is something that we'll continue to push out, is this is how you access tutoring. And I think that is all that I have to update you on this evening, but I'm certainly more than happy to entertain any questions that you guys might have.
I have a question. With looking at your numbers of 138 and the 4,000 people that are in there from the response of your survey, what are you guys going to do to assure you're getting 2,000, 3,000 responses from your survey so you get good data to make your decisions and improvements within the virtual academy?
Absolutely. So I think one of the things that we do with the newsletter is we put everything you need to know in it. So the next time we send out a survey, we think we're going to send out just the survey. And then we also know that we can send that out. I've tried to be very controlled with the different methods of communication that are possible. Sometimes when you hit people with 20 different things, they just are overwhelmed. So we use the newsletter as a primary mode of communication because if people know that's where I go to look for things, they're more likely to actually find it. But if that newsletter is as long as some of these are, those things can get lost. So we think being more specific and intentional with messaging, this is a survey, this will help us get better for your kid, is the way to go. The other thing we're going to do is have someone look at my survey before I send it out so that I make sure I have yeses and nos on there as well.
Do you have a lot of people using the evening tutoring? How is the participation in that?
It hasn't been as much as I would like. But again, we know that over 7,000 people signed into that. So I'm sure that's some people over and over because they go, I know that's in the newsletter. I need to go back and read the newsletter. But there's still thousands of people that I believe are aware of that tutoring. So right now, I think we're about 75% full. And I think there's two reasons for that. One, people are still getting used to it, and can I get someone to get my kid there or not? And then two, I think a lot of parents look at grades a lot more in November and December than they do probably in September and October. So I think once they start realizing, oh, it's getting towards the end of the semester and your grades are low, well, guess what? You're going to tutoring. I think we'll have a lot more participation towards the end of each semester.
And how long are those tutoring sessions?
We do 50 minutes right now, and that's something that we went back and forth on. Some of us thought 30 minutes would be better. We wanted to give as close to an hour as possible just to make sure we didn't have to go, oh, well, we got you halfway there, but now it's time for Mr. Starr to come in and get his tutoring, so you have to leave. We wanted to make sure we got all the way through that. We have the 10 minutes there so we can make sure we have the proper health and safety protocols in place in between students. So we do, right now it's 4 to 7, so there's 3 sessions a night for every teacher that we have there. And right now we have at least 10 teachers on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
So with, just a quick question, I knew you'd talked about maybe the grades, kind of the results that they're going to be seeing, what we may see at the end of the semester and things like that. Are there any proactive measures or things that we're possibly looking at to try and identify maybe earlier on instead of waiting for the results to come in?
Sure, we use an RTI system just like we would in traditional sites. And so
Okay.
teachers take a look every week at their students' grades. If student grades are good, the teacher sends out just a weekly, kind of like a weekly newsletter like I would to everyone. But if your student has a failing grade, those roster teachers send out a specific email to those individuals that have poor grades. Additionally, for our students in Edgenuity, if we see those grades are falling, there's a parent portal where we can sign them up whether they want it or not and put their email address in there, and it will either once a week or once a day email the student's progress and grade level. So we have a couple different mechanisms in place to make sure that students, parents are aware of what's going on with their student. The other thing I would say is this, especially with the older students, there's the tendency to go, I can make all this up towards the end of the semester. So if students don't log in within 3 days, we ask that the roster teachers reach out to the parents and say, hey, your kid hasn't logged in 3 days. If they don't log in for 5 days, again, it's an RTI system where I'm calling at that point, or an assistant principal is calling and saying, hey, your student hasn't logged in for 5 days. Now we're talking about potential truancy and dropping you at day 10. You need to make sure your student's logging in and participating.
So does the virtual tie to parent portal automatically?
It doesn't tie to the HAC parent portal, but Edgenuity has its own parent portal.
That'd be to sign them up automatically at the beginning of the year. That way parents are getting notifications regardless or not.
Yeah, so one of the things we run into there is those systems talking to each other, and it's kind of the best. I'm not a very techie guy, so the way I explain it best, or the way I understand it best, it's like one system talks Spanish and one talks French, and you have to pay for an interpreter program in between. And sometimes those things are easy, sometimes they're not as easy, and I can defer to an expert over here to my left if we need further clarification on that. So I will tell you that one of the things we've learned, we've kind of built this thing as we're going, which has been exciting and terrifying at the same time. But one of the things that we look at is the the data management side of it, and that has caused us to spend enormous amounts of hours thinking through how we keep and maintain accurate records, right? And I feel like we've made massive improvements already in how we did things last year. And when we only had 200 kids, it was really easy to do this way, but we knew as soon as we saw 4,000 to 5,000 kids, this isn't gonna work. There's gonna be too many hands in the pot, and there's too many ways to mess this up. So Mr. Bowser's team, especially Ms. Summers and I, have spent a lot of time together making sure that we have accurate student data that's going to reflect what needs to actually be on their transcript, and make sure that they are ultimately prepared to graduate on time, if not early, and make sure that they are successful.
There you go. Well, this isn't going anywhere. This is the new norm. I've said this for a while now. We've got to build the best product in the entire state or Midwest, and that people want to come here because of what we're doing. That means we build our own platform of delivery. Whatever we do, we've got to invest in that, because the old traditional, everyone's showing up, I think is past now. Parents are going to want options as we move forward, and we need to have the best product and best delivery methods, and whatever we got to do for our kids. And I know me as a board member, I'm willing to invest that money as a board, so whatever it takes to get that done.
Well, President Allen, I appreciate that support, and I will tell you that you are saying the exact same things that I've heard from Ms. Peterson, Ms. Diaz, and Ms. James over and over. And I will tell you that they lead the charge, and this is not a hurdle that we can't overcome, and they work tirelessly. They call me at all hours and make sure that we're doing the right thing. When they have ideas, they don't wait. They send them to me at 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock at night, and we talk them through, and we make sure that we are providing the best product possible. We can't build it all in a day, but I will tell you that you should be extremely proud of the work that has been done, especially when we talk about data management. We have laid a strong foundation so that we can move forward both properly and correctly, but also aggressively. And so I do think that as we move towards next year, we've already talked about planning, what we've learned and how we can implement it to provide people options. There's a concept from a book I read recently called anti-fragile. Things, when we think of things that are fragile, it's like a porcelain cup that breaks. When we think of things that are resilient, it's like a plastic cup that bounces. But things that are anti-fragile get better during disorder. And that's the mindset that we have, and that's the mindset we use. We use every what looks like a valley as an opportunity to grow, get stronger, and get better. And I'm a firm believer that we have that foundation in place, and that over the course of the next year, you will see a dynamic and flexible option for parents. I don't think, that we have seen the last of 2020, if I can say it that way. There's more curves and bumps ahead, and we're ready for them. And it doesn't always look pretty, and you'll never please every single person, but we know that we're doing what's best for every student in Broken Arrow Public Schools, whether they're in the traditional setting or whether they're in the virtual setting. I will say that sometimes, as an educator, we have to make tough decisions, and they don't seem like the fun decision, but we know it's the right decision. And sometimes learning's hard. Sometimes we have to push kids through that, and we're willing to do that, and we're willing to walk every step of the way right next to them and help them through that, and help their mommies that don't like to see them suffer get through it as well. I've got one of those at home. My wife doesn't like it when my 3 kids that are all school age get a C. She wants to go tell them what it is, but we have to help them learn and grow from those things. We believe in resiliency for our students.
One of the pieces we haven't even talked about in this discussion is the teacher piece, and that we had a lot of teachers have to shift on a dime and learning how to teach in a completely different way. And I know we had a professional development day just recently that was key in this. They had a day that they really could focus in on learning how to teach in a different way through distance learning. We were thrown into this in the spring and didn't have really any time to prepare for it. But I really think that as we continue to allow our teachers some time to learn how to teach in a different way, we'll get better and better and better at this. And especially as they learn how to work using these different, tools, they'll continue to get better. Ms. Dias was sharing the other day, we've started to find these shining stars, these teachers that are just phenomenal. They've found their niche. They've shown us that they're the ones that we need to use as those examples, and then they'll become the trainers. So as we get better and better at this, those are the ones that will be the ones we turn to train other teachers, and then, train the trainer model. But that's a key. I mean, if you don't have teachers that understand how to use the tool, then it's difficult to do. I started teaching, I'm afraid to say 30 years ago. I don't know that I could teach using this model. It would take a lot of training for me to get there. So it's easy for us to say, teachers just use this model. Well, no, that's not fair. It takes some time to learn how to teach in a completely different way.
Well, and I'm glad you answered. You actually answered the question I was wanting to try and ask about. That was, what are we doing for the teachers? Are we, we've surveyed the parents and things like that, but I'm glad to see that you are still looking into the teacher aspect, because, again, you may have the most fanciest tool or the best tool that we have today, but if it's, you're using a hammer as a screwdriver, it just doesn't work. So glad to see that we're actually seeing what we can do to help the teachers along this process as well too. So the other thing that I would say, and not trying to pick on certain words, but I heard you all say, next year we're seeing things we want to implement next year. What I would implore is, if you all have things that you see for next year, my challenge would be, why can't we execute on them today or tomorrow or next week? Let's not work on perfection. Let's try and get the best thing we can out there. And if that means, maybe we go out there and we make a few mistakes, that's okay. So I just want you guys to know, let's not wait on that perfection. Let's make it better as we go, because, again, I think that's how we hone in, and you find something, you try something. It's the plan, do, check, act kind of thing, So it's a tough world right now, so I appreciate what y'all are doing on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item will be the general consent items 11 through 45. Any discussion?
Make a motion to approve?
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item, Ms. Kearns.
Good evening. Tonight I bring 11 policies to you for consideration. This will be an information-only item as it is just a first read. They have all been uploaded to Basecamp, so you'll have a month for any questions or concerns that you may have. The only new policies will be 5295 regarding security guards. There was an anomaly there. Quite frankly, we thought this was adopted 2 years ago, and it fell off the agenda somehow, so we apologize for that, and we're bringing that to you tonight. And the good part about that is when we were going to adopt it, we did not have SROs, so now that we do, Mr. Martin and others were able to look at it and make sure it's exactly the policy that we need and that needed to come to you in the first place. The other policy that is new is quite large. It is 26 pages long from RFR. That is the new Title IX policies that reflects all of the new federal guidelines of any time that we receive a Title IX complaint in any manner, whether that be student or employee, for any type of sexual discrimination and how that can be handled. So in the new policy, you will see that I stay as the Title IX coordinator, but by law now we have to name investigators for Title IX cases. I can't be the coordinator and the investigator. In the past, I leaned heavily on principals to fill out reports and to give accurate data on these cases. Now, anyone in the athletic arena or the main supervisor within the building gets discouraged that they are the investigators. So you will see Derek Blackburn, Jennifer Peterson, and Rusty Stecker named as 3 investigators that can collect this information should it be needed. In the policy, it also advises you to bring in legal counsel when it comes to a hearing or for decision making, so we will be following that advice as well. Again, this is it for formal Title IX complaints. I will bring all of these back to you for a vote next month, but do you have any questions or concerns at this time?
Ms. Kern, these come from our legal counsel?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, 47, Ms. Bergwall.
Good evening, President Allen, Dr. Vincent, members of the board. The first item I have tonight is the formation of the naming committee for our STEM facility. As you know, that facility is underway and being constructed and moving right along. We've had our topping out ceremony, and we expect to finish that substantially complete in April and be open for next school year in August. So at this time, we would ask you to form the naming committee, and we would like Mr. J.J. Jadamski to head up that committee.
Very cool. All right. Make a motion to approve?
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item, Ms. Bergwall.
This next one has been one of the longest projects ever for me. We declared the Indian Springs school property surplus in 2015. And in 2016, when we didn't receive any bids, we went ahead and listed that with a real estate agent. And I finally have a contract to bring to you to decide whether or not we would like to accept the contract and try to sell the property. That offer is for $500,000 and is contingent upon them receiving the appropriate permits from the city, permits and zoning from the city. But they have offered that to us for sale. We have had discussions previously as to whether or not, well, gee, we haven't sold it, so should we look at maybe building Elementary 17 there? So after visiting a little bit, I thought, okay, let's pull some numbers together. So back in '88, when the building flooded, the Indian Springs building flooded, there was about 18 inches of water, is what we've been told, in that building. So to completely, now this year ago May, when that area flooded, our building never got wet. but it got right up to the thresholds of the door, but it didn't flood. So, but that wasn't a 100-year flood. So we have to really look back to 88 from when we did get water in the building. So my best guess is that we would need to raise that site by about 4 feet to stay completely out of the floodplain, and we'd have to raise it about 2 feet where the building currently stands. So I feel like we'd have to tear that current building down and build the site up. And I think that would be at a price tag of close to $1 million, because I think it would be about a 75% increase from the site cost that we currently spend on projects, which is about 1.3 to 1.5 on site work, is about what our elementaries have run the last 5-6 years. So that's around the $1 million range. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, what would an additional 20 acres cost us if we purchased acreage someplace else to build Elementary 17 on? Not that we don't have other properties, but if we were just going to purchase something down in that area. And I looked at our average cost per acre that we've spent over the last 10 years that we've been purchasing property. And I think we could buy 20 acres in the range of, 1 to 1.3 million. So I think it's about a wash from what it would cost us additional site work to purchasing new property. With all that to be said, the acreage down there is only 8 acres. We really target more of a 20-acre site for an elementary school. I think this one would have to be a two or three-story building, and we have not built that kind of a facility at the elementary level, but doesn't mean we couldn't. But that would be kind of additional information. I would say we would need to go vertical on this site since we would only have the 8 acres. And then the thing that probably concerns me the most is even if we did all that, and we did have another 100-year flood or another flood like we experienced last May, we might be kept from getting to that building. It might not get wet, but we probably couldn't still hold school because, as you recall, in that Indian Springs neighborhood, they had to shut the power off and evacuate the neighborhood. And people, it was 2 to 3 weeks for some of those folks before they got back in their homes. They didn't get wet, but it was a couple, 2 to 3 weeks. That would be fine if it was June. Would not be so good if it was April for our students in that one site. So I give you all that information to let you ask me questions and talk amongst yourselves to decide if you'd like to accept that contract for sale of the Indian Springs property.
Michelle, how many people have actually made offers to purchase that since we've started selling it 6 or 8 years ago?
We have had one other one that we thought we were going to get a contract on, and that was in May of 2019, literally days before it started flooding, and they pulled that contract back.
So what do we spend annually for cost, upkeep?
So we spend almost $13,000 a year on just the property insurance. And mowing, we spend about $2,000 a month in the mowing season, so about $16,000 a year. So $30,000 plus all of our maintenance department's time to go and check on the building and continue to board it up because it continually is hit by vandals.
Ms. Bergwall, besides building that property up, would we introduce any kind of watershed management costs there if we were to build up and now we're affecting some of the outerlying areas that we possibly also have to consider?
Yeah, we would have to build up where our building was sitting, and we'd have to decide whether or not we were trying to bring the parking lots out of the floodplain, and then we'd have to dig some detention areas so that we would have to, let's see, how do they phrase it, not adversely affect the surrounding areas with our added impervious area. So we would have to design enough volume to take on the water that we would be displacing for our property.
So does that take away from your 8 acres when you do that?
It would. You could use it for playground, but your playground would be underwater. That would be designed to hold the water.
What did that property appraise for?
It appraised for 1.3 back in 2015, and we the first offer that we were close to signing contract on, it was for $650,000.
So we've had one offer in 6 years, 7 years, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
And so besides the school, I know there's been some other thoughts tossed around, what else could we do with that facility? Even if we used it for anything else, we still have that same concern that you've brought up about, one, either access if it does flood, but just building it up. So
it could be perfect for ball fields, but because then if you couldn't access those, you would go other places at that time. But We haven't found anybody interested in buying it to use it as ball fields. We've had a lot of churches look at it, but they've always backed out just because of the condition of the property and then what it would take to raise it out of the floodplain.
One last question is, I know you mentioned the contingency of licensing, zoning, and et cetera.
Mhm.
Is that a showstopper in the sense of, they have to buy it with a contingency, or is it that
Well-
since we're taking a lower price, could we just remove the contingency?
You could ask me to negotiate that portion of that contract, and I could ask for that contingency to be removed.
So what do we need to do to make that type of action legal?
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
What do we need to do to make that type of action legal?
I think you just have to approve for me to negotiate the contract within the terms discussed.
The last question around it, do we have any feeling what the city may, do we have any feeling or anyone know what the likelihood or non-likelihood of them approving those zoning?
I think that's an interesting question because I think that they would probably put them through the process of changing the comprehensive master plan and the zoning. I'm not sure they can block it legally, but they can make them go through that process of changing the zoning.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're gonna be, if we took the stipulation now, we're gonna be dependent on another entity approving the sale. So, I can just speak for myself, I'm not interested in that. I'd much rather just say, here's what we'll take, and you guys fight that fight. That's what
It's
my.
costing us money. It's gonna cost us an extra $1 million of what you would put into another elementary
Correct.
17 or something you said?
Yeah.
So, I mean, $30,000 a year, and we spent a couple $100,000 already
Just keeping it mothballed.
and that's
Yeah, I
getting
mean,
nothing out of, that could be used in other areas, especially with continuous budget cuts coming. I mean, it's a couple of teachers every other year.
well, and with the facility just sitting there, I mean, it removes that expense off of our account if we do sell it or they do purchase it. So, I mean, to me, again, I know we've had this property on the books forever and very little interest. So, in my opinion, I think, at this point, it would probably behoove us as a district to, looking at the cost and everything else, to go ahead and give you that option of being able to go back and negotiate with them. I mean, I think the 500,000 is fairly close, but I do get worried about, we wait 6 months for a contingency zoning issue.
Yeah, I'm
and then
worried
all of a
about
sudden
that
it
too.
backs out, we're back to paying,
Yeah.
30,000, mowing season time a month, so.
I agree.
So you need us to make a motion and vote on that?
Yes.
I'm in favor of without the contingency.
That's what
Yes, me too.
I'm gonna make a motion to give you the right to negotiate a contract to sell that property without any contingency.
Very good.
Second.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, Ms. James.
Thank you, President Allen, Dr. Vincent, and the board. I would like to place before you a vote to make a motion to approve or disapprove the purchase of U.S. history textbooks and curriculum for our juniors at the high school. The total cost of the district would be $149,586.15. Majority of it will be coming from our instructional bond funds, but today, after our review of our finances, we will have just a little bit left over in that textbook fund. We're going to use that, and then the remainder will come out of our instructional fund.
Questions or discussion?
Is this, Mr. James, is
Yes,
this
sir.
something that we purchase every year, or is it just something that we've had to purchase, or?
No, it actually, U.S. history came up for adoption this past year that we could purchase now. We have not purchased any U.S. history or curriculum for social studies over, I would say, I'll defer to your wisdom, but probably 6 or 7 years, Dr. Vincent, we think, or if not more.
Yeah, it's been a long time. If you remember they didn't fund textbooks for year after
Right.
year after year. And there's a rotation of textbooks of when they actually fund them. So if you miss the rotation, then you skip over until the next time that rotates through. So I don't even remember the last time we purchased U.S. history textbooks.
Yeah,
It's
so
been a long time.
we'll do it for 6 years. The purchase, this encompasses, for just a money saving piece, what we have done is instead of sending books home with our kiddos, we keep a set in the classroom for modifications, special ed, EL, so they have that hard book, the hard copy of it in their classroom. Well, we get 6 years of access to an online textbook that they can access through their Chromebook. So it takes care of us for the full 6 years until the rotation comes back through. We will begin the process for science this year, so it's that'll be following that.
Perfect.
We held tight, see where we were at with our virtual funding and where that was at, because we used a lot of our textbook funds for that. So after we met today as our team and with Miss Ina helping us walk through everything, we have been able to find ways to cover most of our social studies. So we were able to purchase our AP history books at the high school for various smaller, economics, AP World, AP, different things through some of our gifted funds. So this just left us with junior history. And 11th grade is a tested subject, so we felt like it was extreme importance, and it was our top priority as we started looking what funds we had, what we should buy first, and this was one of those that we put at the top.
All right. Thank you for the answer.
Sure.
All right. Make a motion to approve?
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, Ms. Peterson.
Good evening again, and I am bringing to you for discussion, a motion and vote on the purchase of social studies curriculum for 5th grade. It would be a total cost of $59,595, and it would also encompass 6 years. So it would be it's a pretty good deal for 6 years. So, and we chose this curriculum last year with a group of teachers. We went to the caravan, and so this was actually chosen by instructional coaches, teachers, and myself.
Questions or discussion?
Sure like that price better than that other one. Just kidding.
Does that also come with online resources?
It does have a digital component. It's not going to have the full textbook, but it does have digital resources that can be accessed by the teacher and by the students.
I'm just curious, it just struck me. So buying some of these and having some of that online component, does that overlap or tie anything into the Edmonton programs or anything like that we have, or give us any opportunity there?
Well, yeah, it will give us an opportunity. It doesn't tie in. However, if we find that a certain part of the curriculum is deficient, we will be able to utilize this curriculum. And I will tell you, so Jinx, I called them and was asking them specifically about social studies because they were having issues with Edmonton too. They're actually using this as a supplement. That's not why we chose this, but I was like, oh, okay, so they are using it as well. And so we will be able to use this to supplement any areas that we find don't meet all of our Oklahoma standards.
Gotcha.
And that's one of the biggest issues we've had so far with Edmonton is they don't meet our standards in a lot of areas. And so.
But man, they charge a lot.
That too, yeah.
All right, thank you. Make a motion to approve?
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Ms. Peterson.
Awesome. And the next item is the same thing, but it's for 4th grade. It's the exact same curriculum. 6 years, went through the same process.
All right, make a motion to approve?
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Ms. Peterson.
Yes, and the next item is discussion, motion, and vote on a revision of our local gifted education plan. We just added a line in there. So a few years ago, if you recall, we changed it. We changed our gifted testing to the COGAT. The COGAT has 2 different parts of the assessment, one test verbal and one test nonverbal. or nonverbal abilities, I guess I should say. What we have found, we are afraid that we are missing a portion of our school population, and so we want to add basically a tier 2 test, which is the Naglieri. It is all nonverbal, so all of our our speakers of foreign languages, it will help us catch those students where the COGAT may not. So we're just in hopes of making sure we're not missing any students.
Make a motion to approve?
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Roulette? Yes. Mr. Allen?
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Peterson. Next item, Ms. Ina.
Good evening, President Allen, Dr. Benson, members of the board. These are our financial statements as of the end of September. So as you can see, we're rolling with revenue and expenses coming in and going out of the district. So right off the bat, you can see the initial cut to our state aid allocation. I reported to the board a couple months ago that we took an initial $2.3 million hit from where we were funded at this time last year. Ad valorem dollars, you can see we did receive one large payment from Wagner County for ad valorem taxes. We typically don't receive any large ad valorem payments until January when taxes are due, but this was from a previous fiscal year, and so those were reported as delinquent taxes to the district. In our state sources of revenue, we just heard from our instructional team of purchasing additional curriculum, and Dr. Vinson mentioned that we had not been receiving textbook funds for several years, which I believe that span was about 5 years. We are receiving those funds this year, and the good news for the district is we did receive a lump sum payment for those funds at the beginning of the year. Typically, those funds have been prorated throughout the year to the district, and because they've been prorated, those have been in danger of if we receive a midterm funding decrease, textbook funds are on the table to be cut at that time. So by receiving all of those funds up front, that allowed us to purchase the needed curriculum for Edmonton for our virtual kids, move forward with some of the world history and social studies curriculum that's needed now. So that is very much appreciated from the State Department. Federal sources, you can see just a little bit of a timing difference with some of our end of year claims from the previous year. In building fund, again, the same difference with ad valorem, and really the outlier in building fund is in some of our local other sources of collection. At this time last year, we did receive that large insurance payment for the storm damage for the premium on that, and that was a one-time thing. Child nutrition, wow, look at the difference of child nutrition from a year ago. Dramatic difference in our local source of collection and in our federal source of collection. So the USDA has continued the mandate of every child 18 and under eating free through the end of the year, and what a impact that's had on our local sources of child nutrition collection. I will say that the communication push and all of the PR that the district team has done to continue to advocate for parents to fill out those free and reduced applications did make a significant difference to that. But our federal collections should start to catch up with where we are lagging in our local source of collection. I know that she just finished the September claim through the end of the month, and that's about $700,000 that you will see reported for next year's revenue.
Natalie, didn't they say that they're going to extend free lunches until June to the federal government? Is that
Yes.
right?
Can you go back one? Yeah.
That's all students? Or is it qualifying students? All.
So looking at building fund expenditures, everything is tracking right along. Some of the salaries and benefits will continue to move forward as we're fully in the swing of annualized pay and everyone being back. And child nutrition, so the offset of that, numbers being lower and not feeding as many students is their payables go down, the amount of food that they're purchasing and supplies is going down proportionally too. So we are keeping a very close eye on child nutrition this year just because they have been such a victim of the pandemic to their operations, how they receive money, how they bring in money, and really turned that on its head. But our child nutrition director has done a tremendous job of communicating those changes with us and making sure that we're making the very best decisions financially moving forward. Keep going to the next slide. And so the very final slide shows the ending fund balance of where we ended the 1920 school year with an increase of about $3 million. And this fund balance will be needed every dime going into the end of this school year and going into the school year ending in 2022, because what is uncertain at this point is if we will receive any further federal stimulus dollars. Just as a reminder, that $1.6 million plus another $500,000 in the incentive grant that was awarded to Broken Arrow is a one-time allocation to the district. So the forecast at this point for our midterm adjustment is anywhere from another $50 to $70 per weighted ADM, so another $2.5 to $3 million off of our allocation from the beginning of the year.
Questions?
My next item is to ask the board to approve the sanctioning request from the Rosewood PTA Council for this school year. We're asking your approval since Rosewood is our newest elementary.
Make a motion to approve?
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes, thank you. Ms. Dolan.
Good evening. I'm here to give the treasurer's reports for the end of September. The cash balance report shows a total of $51,489,000 in assets for the district. Included in this figure are $40,840,000 that are invested for the district. Our collateral report shows a total of $22,681,000 in collateral pledged to Broken Arrow schools. Our deposits that require collateral total $14,782,000, leaving a balance in collateral available of $7,899,000. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Going on to the activity funds, receipts for this fiscal year, as of September 30th, total $864,298. Disbursements total $814,601. It's hard to say. Leaving an ending cash balance in the activity funds of $4,043,000.
Questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, Ms. Metavallis.
My first item are the encumbrance reports. Would recommend approval of encumbrance orders totaling $1,167,275.28.
Make a motion to approve?
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item, Ms. Metavallis.
Change orders reflect a decrease of $69,616.39. I would recommend your approval of those change orders.
Make a motion to approve?
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second, please call the roll.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, new business. We have none. Item 60, to move to executive session.
Make a motion, we move to executive session.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and second, please call the roll.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Roulette?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Thank you. Debbie, do you want these items here from this?